That is very creative. People, everything.
Most excellent. Well, we wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about. We've talked about how COVID has impacted some of the holidays over the last couple years, but we also wanted to talk about how it's impacted our schools, our students, and our teachers. And we really want to hear about your experience as well during COVID, because I think that some of us have had experiences that have been very challenging, and I think it's good to see that those challenging experiences are had by many people, and that we have, even though if we're very far away, we still have people to support us and to encourage us. Um, and so let me take a moment to share. Um, oops, my PowerPoint. There we go. All right. So the first thing that happened, I'm sure this may have been similar in other places too, but for us, as soon as COVID hit, the schools were empty. And so we had a lot of students, many schools closed, and students went home. And suddenly we were trying to teach students at a distance. And to help with this, schools started to use programs to help students get technology or laptops if they did not have a computer at home. And this was really helpful because many students, especially some in rural communities or in um, communities that were not as wealthy, um, they didn't have access to this technology. So schools would provide laptops for students. And they would send home a packet of materials, and students could pick up new work packets every week. And they'd meet online, kind of like we're meeting now. Uh, One thing that we found is that this was super challenging for students to do because it's hard to focus for a long period of time, right? Like even if it's something that you're really interested in, it's hard to focus. I'm sure today has been wonderful. The last 2 days with all of you have been wonderful. I'm sure that there's still a couple moments where you're like, oh, this is very long. It is a long period of time, and that's okay. That's a struggle that we notice a lot of people have, not just students. As we transition to online meetings and online employment, um, it created some challenges. We also saw challenges for parents because now kids were at home all the time. And so if they had a job that they could not do from home, now they had to make sure that they could take care of their kid because there was no one to watch them. So this was really challenging for parents, but it was nice to see schools implement programs or communities come together to help take care of each other. Uh, we also saw um, schools coming together and communities coming together for lunch programs for students. So, if students didn't have secure food at home, maybe their parents had to work and they aren't able to cook for themselves, schools would have programs that people could come by and they would pass out food. And for some areas where it was really hard for students to get to school, they had volunteers who would take meals to their students, and they would go drop off meals for the students who were in their classes. So it was really nice to see people really coming together in this time, even though there were so many challenges. We were really excited when vaccines finally came around because it gave us hope that we could return to the classrooms. And teachers were one of the groups of people that was prioritized for vaccinations to ensure that when they went back to school that they were safe to continue teaching students. And so we saw lots of teachers going to get vaccines, and we saw schools starting to require staff and teachers to get vaccines to help keep the schools safer for not only the teachers but safer for the students. And then we saw vaccines being students being eligible for vaccines. And so then schools would you could actually go to some schools and they would organize little community places to get vaccinated, and students could go get vaccinated. So as students were able to, some school districts began to require students to get vaccinated before they came back to school. As we were preparing for students to come back, we had to make sure there was space so that we could socially distance and keep safe. And this is really hard because I don't know how it is in your school, but here we have lots and lots of children in one classroom. And so even if it's a big classroom, there's not a lot of space. There's so many people. So we had to get creative. We had students who would have their like a plastic barrier around themselves, but you'll also notice that there are some students, there's many students who are not here, right? Every other seat is empty. And so what they would do is students in group A, you would come to school on Monday and Wednesday, and students in group B, you would come to school on Tuesday and Thursday. And the days that you weren't at school, you would attend school online. So we tried to be creative, and that way students could get help from the teacher in person, but we could still practice some social distancing. Now we've started to get back to the point where we have kids in schools and we don't have to have that A-B system, especially as students have been able to get vaccinated. So it is continuing to be a process of challenges um, and successes as we try to learn to navigate. But we want to hear from you. What did you experience during COVID, and how did your school change? Or do you have any questions for us? Because all of us went to school during COVID too. You can ask any one of us.
Halfway through my first chemistry course, they kicked us out of the lab and said we couldn't come back. I still have most of my laboratory equipment at a locker somewhere in my college.
Same. Like I had to for my counseling class, it all ended and like we weren't able to like do such a large thing, and he just gave us like a packet to do at the during quarantine, and like it took a long time for him to grade for like some reason.
Mhm.
So, like, for us, about halfway through last year, not halfway, like a third of the way through half last year. So basically, suddenly everything got worse. We suddenly have a bunch of cases, and so we had to just pack and go home. They gave us 1 day to take everything, go home, and start studying at home. So yeah, very heavy. I just had to carry all of my stuff home. Okay, and then so about for like I don't know, I don't actually remember how many months, but for a few months afterwards, we studied at home and we did online class and all that. And afterwards, we could go back after everything has settled. Still, I think it's getting worse again, which is not a good sign.
The things that I think that we can really hold on to and look forward to is um, if numbers start to increase in the area that we're in, um, you can think of the things that were successful for you during the time that you were away from school, and you can build on those things so that you can keep yourself successful. Um, how how can we help ourselves to stay connected to people? Because I think that when we all socially distanced and when we stopped going to school, it got really hard, right? We didn't see family, we didn't see friends, our teachers, and even if we don't always love school, right? It's still not fun when we don't get to see our friends every day or our teachers because they really do bring goodness to us. So what can we do?
Don't ask me that question. I rather enjoyed quarantine.
Introverted people maybe enjoyed it a little better.
That's exactly me. I enjoyed it. So
So
no, I'm not the best at giving advice.
that's okay. What are some ideas, everyone? What can we do? Anyone from our teacher crew have any ideas as well?
I guess like creating a routine so that then you don't get so bogged down into like trying to figure out what to do. As long as you have a routine, you'll have things to do and you won't feel so drained about like the whole being stuck in your home. Maybe as long as you have a stuff like that, to get your morality up and such. You know, and I guess using any resources you can to try to get through the time.
Keeping in touch with your friends and your family in whatever way you can, whether it's FaceTime or Google Meets, um, and journaling. It can really help when you kind of look back, and if you it's a way of expressing your feelings on paper. I mean, old-fashioned paper. You can certainly journal on your computers, but it's a way of getting more in touch with yourselves and the situation, and really interesting when you look back on it and to see how you've changed and find at least one positive thing each day. Might have to hunt hard, but there's always something positive around, and finding something funny, because laughter helps. It helps physically and emotionally. And even if it's silly, it does help.
I have to agree. When the quarantine started, or when school got canceled for me, my teachers had a simple assignment: is to just keep a journal of how life is in quarantine. And so I did that. And after school was done, I just kept on doing it. And now I have over thousands of pages worth of experiences of quarantine. So yeah, it is really reflective and really good for the mind to do it. And
And you might find this strange, but by journaling, and that in a whole bunch of years from now, when you are a parent or a grandparent, you'll be able to tell them, when they're studying this pandemic, you'll be able to tell them how you got through it. And as days go by, we really forget. We think that we'll remember something forever, but we do forget. And you're a survivor here. You're going through something that in the future, people will want to know, how'd you do it? What happened?
So I want to encourage all of you that even if it does come again to a time where we have to quarantine, I want you to find something that's fun or enjoyable. Try to grow something in a tiny pot. See if you can grow something from it. Or we are the teachers today, we're going to leave our contact information because we had so much fun getting to know you all for even if it was just for 2 days. there were several artists here in the last couple days, and there was somebody who plays the flute. I'm not the only flute player. I was very excited to find that out. And there's other band people, and oh my goodness! So please reach out to us, even if quarantine doesn't happen. That's okay. We want to hear from you guys. So we're actually going to leave our contact information with your teachers, and they can pass that along. But our teachers today, we just want to take one moment to say thank you so much and goodbye. So from me, again, thank you. It was so nice to meet all of you students. I really enjoyed it. I'll leave it up to our other teachers.
Today, thanks all the teachers and Professor Leo and Toby. And I hope the students in Taiwan, I hope you can say something to our teachers for today's classes. Can anyone just volunteer to raise your hand and just say something, just like thanks or appreciate or which topic that you like most in during the 2 days?
I've had a great time with all of you, actually. I enjoyed getting to know all of you, and I do wish to actually keep in contact.
Ashley, I was a lot like you in school, always answering like every question. You get to the point where the teacher's like, all right, somebody other than you, Jared. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
I already have that now.
so we
No,
hope
but
this is
it's
the
good.
beginning of the long-term friendship. So like teacher Sophia say, I will gather all teachers, including Toby. She's a teacher too, and everybody's email to teacher Sophie and teacher Carol. And could you please pass to the student if they want to, um, contact with us? And in the future, if you have another meeting, sure, just 10 minutes, or just want to say hi, reunion, just let us know. We can drop by and say hi. It's a good exchange program. Thank you.
And thank you for your sharing for the holidays in USA. And I think I need to appreciate that you share with your experience during the COVID-19, and especially the part that you teach us students how to look positive and find something funny to do during the COVID-19. I think that's quite important for these youngsters to survive and to stay home healthy. Any volunteers want to say thanks for our teachers?
So I know your New Year is coming. Any student want to share what Chinese New Year you want to do? You will do. That's a big, biggest celebration in Taiwan, right? Anybody? I don't have that privilege. I always need to work during the Chinese New Year.
Okay. Well, so there is a tradition during Chinese New Year in which we go back to our grandparents' houses and then have we eat together and we talk about what happened during the year. We catch up with each other.
Hi, Ashley. Yeah, I share a similar tradition with my grandparents for Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year. Yeah, we would go to our grandparents and we would the way my family does it, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like Thanksgiving in a way. Like we would tell our grandparents what we're grateful for, and after we talk through all our relatives, so our uncles, aunts, and our grandparents. So we do that, and then after we talk, then we could finally eat. But it's mostly the emphasis on the talking part.
Do you still get like a hongbao red envelope from your relatives,
Yeah,
student?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Mostly
do that.
everyone's older than us, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do get quite a lot of money.
I have to give a lot of money.
receiving it.
Lou, you sound excited about the prospect.
I like this tradition. I would like to also jump in on that. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'll suggest it to my parents. Thank you.
I can say that this is delightful. I'm so glad for the Taipei students who have stayed on. I've learned from you, and you're delightful. And I'm so impressed with the Rio Hondo students and the PowerPoints and their enthusiasm that the world is both very big and very small.
Yeah.
And we are more like each other than we are different. And learning about each other's cultures and lives, it's a blessing. Thank you.
I know. And we Chinese has a way say, 天涯若比邻. It's like even though you are so far away, but you are close to each other. So like right now, teacher Sophia is next to me, next to my square. That's just 1 centimeter, but that actually is 11,000
That's
kilometer.
mhm.
Yes.
So I really appreciate this arrangement, and I hope we can continue. And you know, anytime you have something, and if your Dragon Ball festival you want to show us, go ahead. Let us know.
And if any of you in the future thinks you want to be a social worker, meaning a therapist, you can contact me, and I
Okay.
would be glad to mentor you.
Wow.
All right. Well, if we don't have
Thanks.
anything else to add, it was great to talk with everyone, and hope to hear from you.
All right. Thank you, all my students. Thank you, Taipei students. Thank you, Taipei teachers. Let's keep in touch. And Sophie, do you need to talk to me anything after this? After everybody leave?
Yes. Maybe we can just leave. We two can just we don't have to
Yeah, yeah. When
leave
when
for
people,
meeting.
yeah, I
Yeah.
stay. I stay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
all the
So
teachers.
it's good night for us and good day for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good night.
Have a good day.
Have a good day,
Bye bye.
everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
nice day,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Have
Thank
a
you.
nice
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good
You
night.
too.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.